Hello and welcome to another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. I'm Wayne Highlander, National Sales Manager for Bona Adhesives.
And I'm Rob Johnson from Bona Training.
All right, now, if you just looked at the title of this episode and saw the word Subfloors, you might be thinking to yourself, those schmucks just did one on Subfloors not too long ago. I'm not going to listen to this, and how exciting is Subfloors anyhow? Well, got some news for you. I just saw something that came out from a study from the results from Virginia Tech. That's super interesting. And I think good to know for you as when you're having conversations with general contractors. This is some interesting stuff that when I saw this, I went, oh, I'll be darned, man. This is pretty interesting. So I'm just going to throw out some random stuff that I took from this episode, okay? That I from the study. And this was Dr. Lofursky's study on OSB and plywood for wood flooring professionals. One thing that came out of this study is, Rob, I'm going to ask you what you think here. Is might surprise some people. What holds better? A pneumatic stapler, a pneumatic cleat gun, or a manual cleat gun? What holds the floors better?
Manual stapler, manual cleat, no. I would say manual nailer, manual cleat.
Manual nailing with machine-driven cleats as opposed to pneumatic stapling is more consistently strong.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so...
I'm going to give you why I think that. I bet I'm right, too.
Okay.
When you pop your gun, right, the pneumatic one, I think that it almost kind of popped away, right? Like it would move away from the board, I think. When you're doing your hit with the manual nailer, there was no deflection to the gun. It was gun and nail into the wood. Where I think when we're using pneumatic, you hit it, shoots the nail in, but the gun has a little bit of a blowback, almost like a kick, right? A kick to a gun. It almost has like that kick, but I think when we're using a manual, we're not getting that kick. We're not getting that deflection. That would be my guess.
That is super interesting and wrong.
So you were just gonna let me go and go and go and go.
Look, it's not fair.
For the last 2 minutes while I've been mumbling around trying to get that one out, you just couldn't wait to say, no, you're wrong.
Correct.
All right, buddy.
But look, it's not fair. I've got the study in front of me, so there you go.
So why? Why is it?
Pneumatic-driven fasteners often leave damaged tongues with negligible holding power. And just when the study, there's a fancy machine they have that will do this testing on how well the fasteners hold. And by far the hand-driven manual nailers, tested the best. So there you go.
But they didn't say why.
Look, I scammed. This thing's like 16 pages long.
I just told you why. I bet I'm right.
No, damaged tongues.
No.
I happen to agree with you right there. I think some not all tongues are damaged. Some of them are. Well, you know yourself. If anybody's ever on an OSB subfloor, if you pulled out a floor with staples in it on OSB, to me they definitely hold way better than cleats do on OSB. I'll get into that a little bit later too. But another thing that came out of this test, after similar cycles, when installed floors have been cycled through a low to high to low moisture content, flooring tends to return to the original position with plywood subfloors. So I'll say that again. When installed floors have been cycled through a low to high to low moisture content, flooring tends to return to the original position with plywood subfloors. After similar cycles, flooring tends to remain out original position with OSB, so more permanent gaps could be expected. Okay, does that make sense? I've always said that they don't handle the seasonal cycles as well OSB as plywood does. Okay.
Okay.
Now, staples have the highest holding power, but are inconsistent due to damaged tongues. It's another finding. Okay. The statistics indicate the fastener holding strength between staples and nails through 2 or 3 moisture cycles narrows significantly and shows little difference. Now, but here's what I got out of this the most. Okay. And that is protection of subfloor materials from weather. Before installation of oak strip flooring results in significantly greater floor quality than if protection is not afforded. So, you can't help, a lot of times the builder can't help. He's building the house and it's open to the elements. We've all drove by those jobs and seen the water just raining down on them subfloors, all kinds of stuff. So the study shows the protection of subfloor materials from weather before installation of oak strip flooring results in significantly greater floor quality than if protection is not afforded. The lack of protection of subfloors from weathering before the installation of oak flooring significantly reduces floor quality. This research was initiated by NAFMA. What that tells me is nail glue assist has never been more important. Of course, it's an NWFA guideline now, 5 inches and over, but gosh, it's how would you not anymore? Look, I said it before. You got OSB subfloors that don't handle the seasonal cycles very well. You've got, a lot of times you've got thinner tongues and these little thin gauge nails or staples that don't really hold the floors very well. You've got wider plank that, so you get less fasteners per square foot in the flooring. And you've got more expensive flooring by a landslide. You've got customers that are more demanding. Sometimes you have joists that are further apart. It's a recipe for popping and squeaking floors. So I think we've said it all along, but this test right here, to me, if you bring this to your builders, some don't care. We know that. I lived in the real world. But say, listen, man, here's why we do what we do. And I'll tell you, there's never been a better case for 540 for moisture protection in them floors, and also the marriage between them and the adhesive is a must and can protect you in all kinds of situations. So, like I said, if the builder wants to know why you putting this in the bid, well, this study is a pretty interesting study and really just lays it out.
I've seen this personally.
The study?
No, this, what we're talking about, holding power, subfloors, all that. Okay. Mm-hmm. My brother built a house. It was a high-end house. And the builder he used, my brother said to the guy, hey, don't worry, my brother's a floor guy. He'll take care of the hardwood floors. And the guy said, well, no. Okay. It's in our contract. We do the floors, and he's went around and around and ended up being, I was not going to be able to do the floors in my brother's house. Like I said, it was a high-end home, the whole deal. My brother goes away on vacation when the guys are going to install the floor. He asks his father-in-law, which one of the greatest guys you ever met, little old Italian guy. He was a crack up, okay? Mr. Pardo. He passed away, but man, what an awesome guy this guy was. I get a call from Mr. Pardo one day while my brother's on vacation. My brother called my brother. My brother gave him, he said, call Robbie. Mr. Pardo calls me and he goes, the guys left yesterday and I went in to look at what they were doing and I could pull a board out with my hand. Should I be able to pull a board out with my hand?
Probably not.
And I'm like, no, never. Right. there was no way that I thought he was talking about a stapled. So it's right pretty close to my house. I drive over, and I could not believe what we were doing. I mean, we were just literally pulling the boards out. They had stapled it in. It was OSB. They stapled it in, but exactly what happened, what you were saying, tons and tons of water on that deck. They weren't real flooring guys. They were guys that they did everything, carpet, tile, ceramic, the whole gambit. So these guys are just kind of slapping the floors in, and they were holding just enough to kind of stay tight, but you could kind of wiggle them out. I never saw anything like it. I was shocked, so I told old man Pardo, I go, man, I think they should stop. I think they got to start tearing this stuff back out. I mean, they had a couple of rooms done, and in some parts of the house, it was much worse than other parts of the house. But my brother came back. I mean, they just put everything on hold. Even the builder finally came over and he goes, yeah, this probably isn't right and everything. But I was wondering how many of the houses in that development that had happened to, because it was a big development, same type of thing. They, same guys doing the same thing over and over and over. And if my brother didn't have his father-in-law there, kind of leave it to a nice little old Italian guy to bend over and see if he can yank a board out, right?
Well, here's the problem with that is that when this callback comes from the homeowner, what they see is a hardwood floor that's squeaking, right? All fingers are pointing at him. The builder's not going to want to help him out, right? I mean, you accept it when you laid on it. So all eyes are on the floor guy. Yeah. And these are things that happened way before he got to the job site, completely out of his control. So I always look at the liability for the floor guy. And I think that, man, this can't be a better case for having the nail glue assist. And I can't imagine leaving that out of the equation anymore. Like I said, these floors don't cost $2.50 a square foot anymore. I mean, that's a lot of liability sitting on that floor. And it's a conversation I don't want to ever have to have. So I think that, putting it in the bid, and people, for guys that say, well, I feel bad, or maybe they don't want to pay for it or whatever. I mean, look, it's for your protection as much as theirs. So, and actually, if you look at what a nail glue assist costs with our sausages, is pretty inexpensive. I mean, yeah, I know people would say, well, it's easy for you to say. I totally get that. But I mean, if you look at the cost of what it costs you on a job to do that versus the cost of a callback, and if you're going to do a nail glue assist, I think it's probably one of the most affordable ways you can do it. And with the silane adhesive, if it does get on a pre-finished floor, it's super easy to clean back off. It won't etch the finish even 2 or 3 days later. So I don't know. I saw the report and I thought, damn it, we've been saying this for years and years, but now to see it in writing from a study from Virginia Tech. I think it's Virginia Tech. Did I say Virginia? Virginia Tech. I'm going to look up, right?
I thought you said Virginia Tech.
I think so. I'll look up one more time. Yes, sir. Vatech. Yep.
So did they have any solid recommendations? Plywood over OSB?
Well, if you look at the test,
plywood,
at what scores higher is plywood. But again, for flooring professionals, we don't get that choice. I mean, when do you get that choice to say that, tell the builder or the homeowner, oh no, we want you to put down plywood first. Right. We're out of that equation. We're not in that conversation. Mm-hmm. We can educate the builders what we want, and we probably won't get it. But in the end, the homeowner is paying for a very expensive product, and they want what's right, and they don't want to spend $60,000 for a floor and walk across the floor, and it sounds like Rice Krispies.
Right.
Just
like in my brother's case, I'm almost positive if they had used plywood, even if it got that wet, they wouldn't have had that issue.
Yeah. And I mean, look, they're sitting out there for weeks on end and all kinds of weather and what have you. It just stands to reason. It just, it's an unhealthy environment to put a floor unless you putting down 540, using a nail glue assist, checking the moisture, and those type of things. So, all
Now,
right.
did they have any clear recommendation on nails or staples? Did
I don't think the test was there to give a clear recommendation. I mean,
Okay.
not the study. It's just what their findings were. I mean, you know, okay, so if you look at the findings, manual nailer is the best. You going to talk your crew into going out and using a manual nailer tomorrow? You know what? There's still some guys that do every day. They're a minority for sure, but there's some guys that absolutely do. But you know, what is it? 5% of the industry or less probably. So now you know what you're up against, and education is king. You know, being educated and knowing what you're up against, I think, is the key. But now to be able to tell the builder, hey, this is from the study. I should try and get that out to everybody and figure out how I can get that study out. So I'll work on that.
So, buddy, good to see you again. How was your weekend?
Um, I got 2 great days of fishing in, Rob, and
Yeah.
that's unusual. Mostly I'll get like one day of, if I get to go on a weekend at all, it's one day, but I went 2 days, and I'll tell you, there's a river that's a wild river here in East Tennessee called the Clinch River. And the upper parts of it is, um, it's no place for the weak of mind. Weak of mind, weak of
Week
heart,
of mind, week of
weak,
heart.
weak of mind or heart. But to get down there, in this one stretch of the river, the guy that I go fishing with is he lives on 1,000 acres, and you'll never
Whoa.
see this part of the river unless you someone can let you in there, because it's like steep canyons to get down there. So really, there's only one other guide company he lets fish down in that area, and this guy that I go with. And but I've never fished this part of the river before, so it's very rugged, like super rugged to get down there and fish. And I probably caught about 40 smallmouth bass. Fantastic day. I saw two bald eagles, bunch of wild turkeys across the river in front of me, flew across, a bunch of deer, and it's like having a river to yourself that nobody else sees or touches. And when do you ever get that? And but I'm in the float tube. He's in a canoe, and he goes, "I don't know if you really want to fish." I go, "No, this thing will go anywhere. It'll go in 6 inches of water." I cannot believe it survived the trip, because I'm going through rapids really quick, and I'm like bottoming out. I mean, it is crazy. I'm going against, scraping against rock. I'm just waiting for it to pop any minute.
Oh my God.
I can't, and it was like, you know, once you commit to a fishing trip like that, it's like 6 hours before you can pull out anywhere. So if something happens, that's the only bad part about these trips. Like most time I go by myself. If something happens, you're like, there's nobody. You're never going to see anybody. I don't know what you would do to get out of there. And God knows I got no sense of direction if I started climbing mountains to get out of this place. But man, it was awesome. It was great. And the second day I went to a lake and caught a bunch of fish that day. So it's been a really good fishing weekend for me. How about yourself?
That's reminded me of a movie. What's Deliverance?
Yeah.
Your river story sounds like Deliverance.
It's
Maybe Chris will play some dueling banjo when you're telling that story. I think that's the way to go. You ever see that movie?
Oh, of course. Yeah. What's his name?
Yeah.
Burt
Reynolds.
Burt Reynolds. Yeah.
Rapids like that?
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and you hear him like way down there. You're like, oh man, I don't know what's around next.
Oh, what's coming?
Sounds like a canyon down there. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yep. So how about yourself?
Oh man, it was a big weekend. It started Friday night. Something that I have been waiting for since I started having grandkids. 2 of my boys started playing hockey.
Mm.
Got them into the league. It's a learn to skate program. And so it's Hendrick, Bum's kid, Hendrick, and Emily's young guy, Jack. So we got Jack too, to me, just has the perfect hockey player name. Like I just know that someday we're gonna hear Jack Chapin on
That's
Team
pretty.
USA. I mean, Jack
That's,
Chapin's a hockey player's name,
that's
right?
pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I told Bum, I go, maybe with Hendrick, because it's kind of a, Hendrick is kind of a Dutch Norwegian type name.
Hmm.
And I said, maybe with Hendrick, we'll just spell his name Johnson, but do instead of SON, do SEN, so he kind of looks like Swede, Swedish
There
kind of
you
hockey player.
go.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a big night. Last Friday night was our first time on the ice, and I kept the jersey for almost 30 years. I've been holding on to a jersey, Bum's first jersey that he wore at his Learn to Skate program.
No kidding.
Yeah. And so,
Wow.
we were playing against sports, we were getting the equipment and everything. And then before the boys hit the ice, I said to Bum and Hendrick, I go, hey, I got something I want you to wear today. And I had a couple other jerseys for Jack, smaller jerseys that Bum used to wear. And I said, your dad wore this 30 years ago.
Wow.
He wore this the same time you're wearing it, the same league, because it is the same hockey league, Troy Academy, Youth Hockey Association. And so it was pretty cool. I mean, I was getting a little wishy-washy seeing him out there wearing,
Yeah.
his dad's jersey that his dad wore 30 years ago. And I got to give Bell to Pauline because I said to her, I found the jerseys. I don't know, years and years ago. I found the jerseys, and I said, "Hey, do me a favor and do whatever you got to do to maybe preserve this jersey." I said,
Mhm.
"Wouldn't it be cool if Bum had a boy and he played hockey that, on his
Wow.
first day of hockey, he could wear this jersey, and." So it hit me too. I didn't even remember it, and we were kind of. I was out of town. I was flying home, and man, I did not want to miss that flight because it was Friday night, 5:30. So I got home around 3 o'clock, and I'm sitting in the airport in Atlanta, and I called her, and I said, "Man, do you remember when I asked you about the jersey?" And she goes, "Oh yeah, yeah." I go, "Do you know it?" She goes, "Yeah, I know, right with there." She sent me a picture in like 30 seconds. She had that
Wow.
jersey out. It was pristine, perfect.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was awesome. I mean, it was just freaking awesome. I couldn't have been happier. It was pretty cool. So, I'm a hockey guy, and it's
Well,
nice to see
that's
another generation out there. And what the great part was, they have a new way of teaching kids how to skate. Before it was just kind of stand up, and well, they have like these little, uh, I don't know, kind of looks like a dual sawhorse type of thing, so they can kind of hold on. And
mhm.
well, these two kids are just holding on as the coaches were, bringing around the ice, zipping around and everything, so they can get a whole feel for it. And they had the biggest shit and grins on their face that you would ever see. I mean, some of the pictures we got, you could see them smiling through their helmets, So I was
Wow.
just, man, it was, hey, it was a grandfather, it was a grandfather moment for me. It was awesome.
How old are they?
Um, Damn, I think they're both 5. I think they're both
Wow.
5 years old. Yep.
I remember being 5 years old and at a skating ring and looking in and wishing that I could afford skates.
You didn't have a grandfather that worked at Bona that could get him
No,
all the
no.
used
Yeah.
equipment that you want, right?
Yeah. That's pretty cool because that's your life, man. I mean, that's your kids, that's your passion, and see that whole thing come through, man. That's
Yeah, and I mean, so many. We had lots of people from the family were there, and aunts and uncles. I mean, it was great. It was great.
nice.
Pauline was there, of course, and so it was definitely a big family moment. And that I know we might have looked goofy, but
That's not that's not goofy at all, man. That's pretty cool.
it's funny because, you know, all the boys play soccer and they're in a soccer league, baseball and everything. And, you know, everybody who comes to family dinner on Sunday, my sister-in-law and her husband and the aunts and the uncles, they always, all those guys, they all go to the kids' games. So every kid that's playing has a rooting section, a minimum of 10 sometimes, you know, at the game. So it was great. It was a great night.
What must that be like to have family?
Oh my God. If Pauline hears this, she is going to be in tears. She's going to kill me for telling this story. Yeah.
Well, Rob, I don't want to be rude, but Judy just gave me the signal that the chocolate chip cookies that she's been making are done, and I can smell them from here. So I got to go.
I don't think he's coming back. All right. It's the Rob Show. Here we go. I don't think he's coming back. So thanks a lot for listening, everybody. This has been another episode of On the Floor with Rob and Wayne. Please stay tuned for another episode.